This story is called Homelessness and Factory Working.
Jesus People took years to find distribution, despite having notable actors in it, including a recent Oscar winner. It played at festivals all over the country, from the Friars Club Film Festival in New York City, to the Waterfront Film Festival in my home state of Michigan, to the Los Angeles Film Festival, to a big flashy premiere in Nashville with an audience of Christian recording artists, atheists, and gays. It's what I imagine the afterlife looking like. You could tell which group was sitting in which area of the theater just by listening to which jokes made each section laugh. A lot of my favorite singers were there that night, which made it a special treat. We went to the Dove Awards, gospel's equivalent to the Grammys, and with the help of my beloved singer-songwriter friend Cindy Morgan, we recorded backstage interviews with most of the big Christian musicians of 2009. Michael W. Smith, Chris Tomlin, and Dan Hasseltine of Jars of Clay. Those were included as bonus features on the DVD, which would further confuse people who thought our mockumentary was a documentary. Film festivals and accolades do not pay the bills, however, and finding distribution for a film in a world where everyone wants their entertainment for free on Netflix was becoming daunting. It had been 2 years since The Mascots, and I was out of money. Finding jobs on reality shows were fewer and farther between. I started catering to pay the bills, but when a house I had purchased for a family member for their safety went into short sale, I no longer had any credit. Without that, I was forced to leave my apartment and sleep in my car for a few nights, an old BMW that looked nice, so at least I was pimping out in style as a homeless man. I turned over my bedroom that had once been Melissa McCarthy's dressing room to a 19-year-old blonde-haired religious boy who had just fallen off the turnip truck. He was me, minus 15 years and 50 pounds. He had mommy and daddy's credit line, so he could afford my share of the rent. He slept in my bed, watched my TV, put his books on my cinder block bookshelves, and enjoyed the life I had built for myself. My friends gave me a job at a coffee shop in Venice and allowed me to sleep upstairs on a couch that smelled like onions. I was grateful to not be sleeping in my Beamer. I opened the coffee shop each morning before daybreak and had the privilege of cleaning the human feces from the toilet handle every hour or two. Venice is a hotbed of homeless men such as myself, and they really have a good time in those private coffeehouse bathrooms. There was enough drugs spilled on the floor each night I could have built my own tower to honor crystal meth. I had fantasized about being in my 30s ever since I first fell in love with 30-something, yet this wasn't the life I imagined in Philadelphia with Michael and Hope. This was the result of writing movies we wanted to make. That's why, to this day, I'm so proud of the stories I've told, because I know the personal sacrifice that went into bringing them to life. Viewers see a movie on DVD and hopefully they enjoy that. I see sleeping on a couch above a coffee shop, putting a net over my head to avoid rats in my face while I slept, watching Frasier on DVD, remembering what life was like in my own home, in my own bed, when I had originally watched those episodes in their first run. I was always aware that my plight was my own doing, that I was the one who had decided upon this life for myself. I eventually worked my last job in reality TV in 2010 on a horrific eating disorder show called What's Eating You? It was an 8-episode series for E, featuring 2 patients per hour with varying disorders, each hiding their shameful secrets from their friends and family. The show had good intentions of getting these participants to sit down with a doctor, but it was really hard to see the reality of their existence. I drove around a woman in her 20s who was 76 pounds, having to roll down my windows because you could literally smell her body feeding off itself for survival. I interviewed a young model who would eat a roll of toilet paper every evening, dipping pieces in pickle juice for flavor. She had heard that you can't digest toilet paper, so she felt it was just like eating nothing. The moment I was done with Hollywood was when I found myself on a young bulimic's bathroom floor, asking her to show me on camera how she threw up her meals. I was laying on the filthy floor getting B-roll footage of vomit when I realized, if this isn't rock bottom, I don't know what is. My heart broke for those young men and women, and I hope the doctors involved in the show gave them some much-needed help. I do know the therapy continued beyond the duration of the show. I was ready for a change, so I moved to Billings, Montana, and created a talk show for my sister to star in with radio personality Big J. Harris. We produced 55 episodes of a Live with Kelly style show in front of a live audience. As executive producer, I slept in the studio, which was really a converted loft, so it was ideal, actually. The show brought in very little money from advertisers in such a small market, so this TV creator also got to work part-time for a pesticide company, spraying houses for bugs, not to brag. It's what I did with the spare time I had outside the 65 hours a week I was putting in delivering 4 episodes to the NBC affiliate. Nothing in showbiz is as it seems. After we ended the show, I looked around the landscape of Big Sky Country, the landscape I had spent so much time in as a bug sprayer / TV producer. There was no way I was leaving Montana without directing my first feature. By now I had learned that writers should always write movies they really want to see. I always wanted to have a Christmas movie I'd watch every year that focused on the lives of gay characters, front and center, as lead characters of the story, and not as the cardboard saintly sidekicks in the family. A family stone. I looked for local acting talent in Montana, but no one wanted to play gay characters, including local gay actors. It was really sad, but I was learning that this country wasn't the evolving America I thought it was. Small towns are so charming on the Gilmore Girls or Friday Night Lights when progressive Hollywood writers are putting words into the characters' mouths. Most small towns are not Stars Hollow in Dillon, Texas. Fortunately, 2 of my favorite actors in LA, Rich Pierre-Louis of Jesus People and Joseph Kim of The Mascots, hopped on a plane and flew up to Billings to star in the film as Dave and Jordan. Great local actors like Diane Kylander, Eric Weber, and Jessica Garibay rounded out the family. We shot in a train depot, in a hospital, on a ski lift, and at the top of a mountain with a gorgeous view of nature. I succeeded in telling a movie I like to watch annually. Joseph and Rich had amazing chemistry and brought the movie to also sent me a rejection postcard, which I immediately framed. In California, they are very skeptical of middle-aged white men who apply for minimum wage jobs. They know we're all unemployed actors and writers and that we will quit as soon as we find work in our real profession. I now lived in an office because it was cheaper than an apartment. Sure, it was illegal, but what is life without a little danger of being locked up? I had narrowly escaped arrest with the Urkel incident, so this was no big thing. I shared an office with a Russian named Vlad Domanovsky. Try that again. I shared the office with a Russian named Vlad Domanovsky. Dumanovsky. One more time. I shared the office with a Russian named Vlad Dumanovsky. He had a home and didn't know I slept in the office overnight, though I think he eventually figured it out. Those Russians are crafty. Cross-reference the U.S. presidential election 2016. Once he left around 6 p.m., I pushed the couch up against the door, so the Taiwanese cleaning man with the master key couldn't open the door in the middle of the night. I showered at the gym, and I ate several meals a day at Jack in the Box. These are the memories I have when I look at the poster of Red Lodge. That is what filmmaking is. Oh, and please remember the image of me on a couch in an office shared with Vlad next time you illegally download a movie. Thank you. The only job I could find on Craigslist was one in a dildo factory, snipping excess silicone from the adult toys after they chilled on the cooling racks, which I'm keenly aware is not something you hear every day. After the snipping, I washed the products in a utility sink before laying the pieces out to dry on the racks. Often the giant German shepherd freely roaming around the factory would jump on the rack, snatch a mid-sized forest green dildo in his teeth, and haul it off to the corner under the skylight where he would really go to town. He loved the green ones. Everyone working there was gay, which was refreshing, but unfortunately they all behaved like the worst version of homosexuals you often see out bitching each other on reality shows. My bipolar boss Gary was wonderful and sweet one moment, and a raving lunatic the next. He often came to work in a great mood, offering to make omelets. He was also fond of blending smoothies, which everyone agreed were delicious. Then he would flip on the fourth hour of Today and Kathy Lee would say something that would so enrage him the entire day would be shot. Lance was a weirdo who smelled of horrific BO and was in charge of pouring silicone in the molds in the back room. Leandro and Ricky were two flamboyant bodybuilders secretly married to each other. They talked a lot about how the FDA was lying about the fat content of cottage cheese. I actually heard one of them say, "Dairy lobbyists have Obama in their back pocket." Really? When Gary turned 50, we threw him a party. What to buy a man who already had an office filled with leather headgear? He was too young to retire and too old to wear the barbed wire clamps he'd so loved. He was a fetishist, still sporting a chain wallet out his back pocket, connected to, I'm assuming, some kind of distressed leather thong. He never met a size small, bedazzled t-shirt he didn't squeeze into. Thigh-high boots with battery-operated spurs? Zippered crotch guards worn on the outside of the jeans? Gary went all in when it came to a wardrobe that made him feel butch at work. Next to this group, I was a total snooze. I never had good stories about my dating life. Nothing much was going on in that department. I didn't want to admit that I was such a loser I slept in my office at night, so instead I just shut up and did my silicone snipping. I quickly earned the nickname Beige. That I know of, it's the first and only time in life I was thought of as beige. It became apparent to the fine folks at the factory that they had hired the wrong guy off Craigslist. I was not their cup of wheatgrass juice. I kept to myself, worked quickly and efficiently, and never had any good gossip. Gary told me I could take Friday off. I texted him over the weekend and he said, don't bother coming in on Monday. They had a slow week and I was free to find other part-time work. The next week he stopped returning my text. I think I was fired because it's been 5 years and I'm still waiting to be placed on the schedule. Not since I was fired from the Christian TV station for sleeping on the floor or fired from the insurance agency for staring out the window daydreaming about trees has a dismissal hurt this much.